Welcome to the channel English Epics. It was Saturday evening, and my wife Claire and I were at a party at our neighbor's house. Everyone was having a great time, drinking beer and wine, and sharing various stories. As usual, once a month or so, the same five couples, neighbors, and good friends would get together to relax in a friendly atmosphere. This time, the party was at Ed and Sheila's house. As often happens, the conversation eventually drifted toward sex. It seems that sooner or later, this kind of topic always comes up, inevitably sparking general interest. Over the 20-plus years since we were teenagers, not much had really changed in that regard. Sex remained a favorite topic whenever a mixed group like ours got together. Marge Benson set things in motion by launching into a story about when she and Tim had just started dating. Her parents had given them an unexpected surprise by coming home a full hour earlier than planned. Marge and Tim had been making out on the couch when they suddenly heard the sound of a car pulling up. Marge quickly yanked her dress back down and kicked her underwear, which had been lying on the floor under the couch. At the same time, Tim grabbed his pants and tried to pull them up as fast as he could. Thinking she could speed things up, Marge reached for the zipper on Tim's fly and yanked it all the way up in one swift motion. Then she turned toward the door, greeting her parents, who were already stepping inside, with an innocent smile. Her mom and dad didn't seem to suspect anything at first, at least not until they noticed how strangely Tim was behaving. Marge turned to look at him and was stunned to see his face flushed bright red and sweat pouring down his forehead. Marge's mom even asked him, with concern, if he was feeling all right. All Tim could do was nod before bolting past them toward the door. He shot out of there and burned rubber on the asphalt faster than I could even tell this story. Marge laughed. Turns out, in my rush, I caught the tip of his manhood in the zipper. Marge smirked. It took a whole week of apologies before he agreed to see me again. And even after that, he wouldn't let me look at or touch him down there for another month. That kicked off a string of stories about various awkward and embarrassing incidents the women in the group had experienced with their husbands, including mishaps involving their, well, equipment. That was when Claire, barely able to wait her turn, made her declaration. I will never forget it. Even now, I can still hear the words she said that night. I don't have any stories about Sam's equipment, she announced, instantly capturing everyone's attention. It's so damn tiny, you can barely see it, let alone for Sam to get into any trouble with it. I'm always afraid he'll get stuck in one of my thimbles when I take out my sewing kit, she giggled. Hearing that, I was stunned and deeply offended by her remark. I sat frozen in my chair, my only hope being that everyone would realize Claire was joking. There were a few quiet chuckles around the group, but it was clear that no one really took my wife's words seriously. Oh, come on, Claire, Marge chided. You have 3 kids, so I highly doubt he's that tiny. That was a perfect chance for Claire to walk back her slanderous comment. Would she take it? Every time I got pregnant, it must have been a real miracle, she laughed. Honestly, I had to use a kitchen baster to get the job done. Well, that's something big enough to put in there, she added, still laughing. Sam is so small, he has to go to the bathroom and watch where the stream is going backward, just to find it. Most men would probably assume that after 24 years with Sam, I'd still be tighter down there than a virgin. If he didn't touch me, I would have never known what pleasure felt like. Claire laughed again. This time no one joined in. The silence was deafening. My face burned so hot that tears nearly welled up in my eyes. It was a miracle that, under the overwhelming wave of shame, humiliation, and rage crashing over me, I didn't burst into flames like a matchstick and burn to ashes right in front of everyone. Naturally, every pair of eyes in the room turned to me, and in all of them, I saw nothing but pity and quiet disdain. I looked at Claire. It seemed that only now did she fully grasp the depth of my emotional devastation. Her eyes suddenly widened, and her hand involuntarily flew to her mouth as if to stifle a gasp. For several unbearably long seconds of dead silence, I struggled to come up with a dignified response to Claire's cruel mockery, but no words would come. More than anything at that moment, I wanted to lunge at Claire and strangle her with my bare hands, just to finally shut her filthy, blabbering mouth. I had no idea why she had decided to humiliate me so viciously, but it was more than I could take. With every passing second, my rage began to outweigh my humiliation. Clenching my fists, I spun around abruptly and stormed out of the room, slamming the door behind me before I could say or do something I would regret forever. As I backed my car out of the driveway, I saw everyone from the room spilling onto the porch. Watching the scene unfold, our house was only a few blocks from Ed and Sheila's. Claire could walk home, one of the neighbors could drive her, or better yet, she could just go straight to hell. That I was so furious that I decided not to go home that night. Instead, I drove to a motel near the highway, paid in cash, and checked into a simple room with nothing but the bare essentials. That I turned off my phone and had a restless night, unable to get any real sleep. The next morning I was up with the sunrise. There was no point in staying in bed any longer, replaying Claire's humiliating words from the night before over and over in my head. Why had she felt the need to slander me like that? Did she really think my equipment was that inadequate and unsatisfying? In 24 years of marriage, Claire had never once mentioned anything remotely like this, not even hinted at it. And yet all it took was a few glasses of wine to loosen her tongue, and she spilled this truth in front of 8 of our friends. I checked my phone and saw nearly a dozen voicemails from Claire. That I deleted them all without even listening, that I had no desire to hear her voice. Then I decided to turn my phone back on, just for the satisfaction of ignoring any messages or calls from her. Within minutes, my phone started ringing. That I checked the caller ID and saw that it was the Bensons. Calling at 6 in the morning, I suddenly felt a pang of concern. What if something had happened to the kids? So I answered. Sam, finally. Damn it, man, where are you? Tim's worried voice exploded in my ear. Claire is freaking out. She said your phone was off and you never came home last night. She's scared something might have happened to you. Oh, something did happen, Tim. If you didn't notice, I got stabbed in the back last night. And damn, it hurts. Really hurts, I added. Do me a favor and tell Claire she can go find whatever huge size she's dreaming about, or better yet, she can go entertain herself. Sam, no one judges you by your size. You still kick all our asses at golf and… Damn, Sam, don't take it so hard. Tim tried to console me. If Tim was trying to make me feel better, he was doing a terrible job, clearly. After last night, he also thought I was small and was just trying to sugarcoat it, coming up with different reasons why I shouldn't let it bother me. That I hung up and turned my phone off again. That day, I only left my motel room for breakfast, then spent the rest of Sunday glued to the TV in that pathetic little room I had rented. Still, it was somewhat entertaining to watch Tiger claw his way out of the gutter and eventually win. At least that provided some distraction. On Monday morning, the first thing I did was call work and request a few days off. That I needed to figure out what the hell I was going to do. Continuing to live with Claire and pretending nothing had happened was out of the question. How can you live with a woman when you know she doesn't respect you? I pulled up to our house around 10 in the morning. From the street, it looked like Claire had already left for work, so I parked further down the road and walked back to the house. Peeking through the garage window, I saw that her car wasn't there. I went inside, packed a couple of suitcases with my things and hauled them to the garage. Then I walked back to get my car, backed it into the garage, closed the outer door, and started loading up the trunk and back seat. Everything was going smoothly, and I even managed to find space for some of my tools, along with my firearms. As for the latter, I had no intention of using them, but I sure as hell wasn't about to leave them behind for some asshole with a bigger tool to get his hands on. Once I was done loading up, I headed back to the motel and brought my bags into my room. I decided to stay there for a few more days until I could figure out a concrete plan. Then I turned my phone back on, just in case something actually important came up. When you have kids, even if they're as independent as mine, you still worry about them. While I was at it, I deleted another pile of messages from Claire that had built up over the day and slipped the phone into my pocket. It rang again within minutes. Seeing that it was my boss calling, I picked up. Jesus, Sam, what the hell is going on? Claire's here and she's a mess. Did you leave her? What do you want me to tell her? He bombarded me with questions, his nervous tone making it clear he wasn't enjoying being caught in the middle of this. Just give her the names of a few guys at work with big tools, okay, boss? That should take her mind off worrying about me and my small size, I shot back sarcastically. Did you really just say, guys with big tools, Sam? Claire's standing right here, and she heard that. Damn, now she looks even more crushed, he muttered, lowering his voice. What the hell am I supposed to do with her? Why don't you go ahead and do her, boss? I growled before hanging up. Shit. Now I was probably going to lose my job on top of everything else. What the hell was she even doing at my workplace? It was like she was deliberately trying to wreck my life. That's when I decided two could play this game. I jumped in my car and drove straight to the insurance agency where Claire worked. Hello, Sam. Her boss, Samantha, greeted me. Claire's not here yet. Can I help you with something? Yeah, Samantha. When Claire shows up, tell her husband stopped by, along with his needle-sized beanstalk. I'd like to find out if I can get some kind of insurance coverage in case I get surgery to make it bigger. But if that doesn't help, would I be eligible for compensation for my tiny little sprout? It's not much, but it's all I've got. Samantha turned as red as a ripe tomato and started coughing. A few other people in the office went dead silent. It was obvious that in the sudden silence, everyone had heard everything I had just said, especially since I hadn't bothered to lower my voice. After a brief moment of hesitation, Samantha managed to regain her composure and responded professionally to my spontaneous verbal outburst. What you just said, well, that sounds like more of a personal issue, Sam. I hope you weren't being serious, but if you really have that kind of concern, I'd suggest reaching out to a company like Lloyd's of London. You know our motto, but when we say, you're in good hands, that doesn't apply to your beanstalk. I'm really sorry, Sam. I bet Claire isn't nearly as sorry as you are, I muttered. According to her, not just a cigar, but even a damn cigarette is bigger than my sprout. Maybe I should order some of that stuff from that guy in the TV commercial. What's his name? Bob, right? I mused aloud. Hell, I'll order a whole truckload of that crap and take as much as I can. If I can stretch it to 3 inches, I'll be thrilled. Anyway, thanks, Samantha. I left the entire office staff at Claire's workplace standing there with their mouths hanging open as I walked out the door and jumped back into my car. Now I was heading to Claire's parents' house. Sam. What a surprise to see you here on a Monday, said Steve Carey, her father, as he greeted me. To what do we owe this pleasure? I just wanted to know, has Claire ever told you that I have a very small size and that she's unhappy about it? I blurted out, just as Nancy Carey, Claire's mother, walked up to us. Now I don't know what to do about it, I continued, now addressing both of them. Should I just give her a divorce so she can go find a guy with a bigger tool? Steve's face stretched in shock. Sam, what are you talking about? He asked, bewildered. Claire has never mentioned anything like that. Right, Nancy? But you know, sometimes women do talk to other women, Sam. Of course not, Sam, Nancy interrupted firmly. What's really going on with you two? I highly doubt Claire is unhappy with your, size. In fact, based on the little hints I've heard over the years, I'd assume the opposite. Well, thank you guys, I replied. Claire has gone around telling all our friends that my size doesn't meet her standards, and now I'm just trying to figure out a way to satisfy her. Have you actually tried talking to her, Sam? Steve asked. Maybe you misunderstood something. Maybe you, so to speak, jumped the gun. He smirked. No offense, I just couldn't resist. Maybe she was upset about something you said or did and decided to get back at you a little, Nancy suggested. However, I do admit that saying something like that about any man, especially her own husband, to other people can have some pretty serious consequences. I'm not going to talk to Claire until I've really calmed down, Nancy. I've never laid a hand on her, but after hearing what my own wife said, it did make me think, I warned. Nancy snorted with a laugh. I know exactly what kind of man married my daughter. My son-in-law isn't some pathetic coward who hits women, so don't even mention that nonsense to me, Sam. I'm not worried it'll come to that. Seems like you both think more highly of me than your daughter does, I replied. So I take it you don't see this as a big problem? I think you've made your point, Sam. We'll be sure to let her know you stopped by and that you're a little upset about certain comments regarding your, size and masculinity, Nancy assured me. Tell Claire that I expect both of you here for dinner next Friday night. As I walked back to my car, I shook my head in frustration. Had this woman even heard a word I just said? When I got back to the motel, I unlocked the door to my room and collapsed onto the bed. For a second, I closed my eyes. At least that's what it felt like. Because when I opened them again, Claire was standing over me. Jesus Christ, I nearly lost it right in my pants. What the hell are you doing here? I demanded, bolting upright. Wait, how did you even find me? I was on my way to my mom's when I saw your car driving down Ash Street, so I just followed you, Sam. It wasn't that hard, she admitted. And what do you want? Here to give another speech about my tiny sprout, Claire, I snapped. Oh, Sam, please forgive me. I'm so sorry for everything I said, she pleaded. At the party, I noticed you spending a lot of time talking to Gloria Bentley, Ann. I guess I got a little jealous. Her chest is much bigger than mine. I know you like her, Ann. I know she does too. Claire lowered her gaze, nervously shifting from foot to foot. After a brief pause when I didn't respond, she hesitantly continued. I, well, I drank too much, and then I just started running my mouth. It felt like you were ignoring me and my small chest, while you were giving so much attention to Gloria and her big boobs. Besides, I've been having a lot of hot flashes lately, and when that mixed with the wine, I just lost it and started spewing all that idiotic nonsense. Your excuses make no sense to me, Claire, I cut off her rambling. I never said your chest wasn't perfect. And you know I always talk to other women at these parties. But I have never cheated on you, I reminded her firmly. The way I see it, you're just trying to downplay your guilt. I had hot flashes, I drank too much, and I was jealous. Do you really think I'm going to believe that combination somehow turned you into the cruel woman you were that night? It's hard to believe, isn't it? Claire admitted. But the thing is, it's true. I want you to come home, Sam, and I promise I'll make it up to you. It's not that simple, Claire, I countered. You humiliated and ridiculed me in front of all our friends, and you probably did irreparable damage to my reputation. In case you didn't know, Tim already called me and basically told me not to worry about having a tiny sprout. Just wait until you get to work, Claire, I added. I guarantee you won't be thrilled about what I did there. And besides that, I had a talk with your parents. I've already been to work, Sam. They told me all about your little stunt, she confirmed. Hearing about it was pretty embarrassing, but I admit I deserved it. And on top of that, my mom called me while I was following you. You have no idea how badly she chewed me out. She was furious with me, Sam, Claire admitted. She told me I'd be lucky if you didn't beat the crap out of me, and that even if you did, I should just accept it. And that came from my own mother. I smirked to myself. Nancy knew exactly how to play on both of our emotions, better than anyone else on the planet. She knew I could never bring myself to hit her daughter, probably even better than Claire did. That still won't put the genie back in the bottle, Claire, I replied. How am I supposed to look any of our friends in the eye after what you said? Your apology won't change the fact that you've made me out to be a weak, inadequate husband with a tiny size, someone to be laughed at. And honestly, I don't like that one bit. Sam, come home today at 5 o'clock and you'll see, I will fix this mess. Please give me a chance. If you still think I haven't made things right, I'll accept whatever decision you make. I'm asking for just one chance, Sam, for all the years we've had, Claire pleaded. I just don't see how that's even possible, Claire, I said, shaking my head. Your humiliating remarks cut too deep. Sam, just come home at 5 and see for yourself. I promise you won't regret it, and it won't cost you anything except a little of your time, okay? I agreed, albeit reluctantly. I knew there was nothing Claire could say that would make me feel better about her sudden and disgusting outburst at the party. Ironically, though, a part of me wanted her to somehow fix this mess so that I could actually feel good about myself again, about my self-esteem, and maybe even about my marriage. I walked into the house right at 5. Claire was waiting for me in the living room, dressed in a very sexy black dress. It was clear she thought she could just let me have my way with her, some kind of way to make up for what she'd done and set things back to normal. Why do women always think they can rip a man's heart out and then, in their minds, fix everything by just giving him a little love? Claire turned me slightly and dropped to her knees in front of me. Then, she unbuckled my belt and pulled the zipper down. From this angle, I could see right under her dress, and in that neckline, the small chest she had complained about looked plenty big to me. Claire, this isn't the solution. I can already tell you that. This won't work. I don't want to mislead you into thinking this is going to fix anything, I said, trying to stop her. Hush, husband, she murmured, pulling down my boxers and going straight for the slandered sprout. Well, at least I tried that. I figured I'd give her a chance to make me feel better. and I had to admit it felt damn good. Still, no amount of pleasure could restore the self-respect I had lost as a man. All my friends had heard Claire loudly announcing just how unimpressive my sprout was. Despite my resentment, my soldier quickly stood at attention, so rigid it could have cut diamonds. I didn't get this kind of attention very often, but right now Claire was showing enthusiasm like never before. And then, to my absolute shock, for the first time in our entire marriage, Claire gave me an unbelievably deep kind of pleasure. She was so determined that within just a couple of minutes, I was already on the verge of finishing. Now. I gasped in warning as my wife continued working her magic. Claire pulled away with a soft pop, her hand quickly taking over as she worked me with steady determination. A wave of intense relief washed over me as I reached my peak, her dress likely bearing the evidence. But she didn't seem to care. Finally, she leaned in once more, making sure there was nothing left behind. My legs felt weak beneath me, and as I caught my breath, one lingering question remained. Should I forgive Claire or not? At that exact moment, it felt like the gates of hell had just burst open beside us. "Wow, Sam!" Marge Benson exclaimed, appearing out of nowhere. "Claire definitely put all doubts to rest today." "Wah! What the... what the hell?" was all I could manage to sputter, staring in shock as 5 smiling women strolled in from the kitchen into the living room. "Here, Claire, wipe your face with this," Gloria Bentley offered, handing my wife a towel as she got to her feet. "And you weren't kidding when you said Sam wouldn't disappoint us." I quickly pulled my boxers back up. My face turned bright red again, and I could feel the heat radiating from my cheeks. Why the hell were all these women watching while Claire was doing that? "Sam, maybe we can come up with an insurance policy for this remarkable sprout of yours." Claire's boss, Samantha, chuckled. Those enhancements worked fast, didn't they? I could tell they were teasing me in a friendly and approving way, not cruelly, like Claire had at the party. But still, what the hell was going on? Pulling on my pants, I shot my wife a pointed look, silently demanding an explanation. Claire wiped her face and chest, then sighed. "Sam, I humiliated you in front of these women at the party. I said awful, unforgivable things. Things that were absolutely untrue," she admitted. "And I had no idea how to make it up to you until my mother suggested, well, this." I blinked. "Your mother?" I repeated, stunned. "Yes, it was her idea. I told you how furious she was with me, didn't I? Mom ripped into me saying I had humiliated your manhood and that I needed to find a way to restore your self-respect. And, well, then she made a suggestion on how to do that." Claire gestured broadly to the women standing around us. "As you can see, I just put myself in exactly the same kind of humiliating spotlight as the one I unfairly put you in that night. And I also proved to all of them that you are not small down there. Trust me, these ladies are definitely going to spread the word. So now everyone will know that my husband has everything it takes to be a real man." The women around us exchanged knowing smiles, nodding in agreement. I invited Samantha as a representative from my office. After the scene you caused at my workplace, I felt like I owed it to them to show and prove that my husband is perfectly fine down there. "Honestly, I think this demonstration was more for my reputation than for yours," Claire admitted. "Sam, we're all going to leave now, but I just want you to know what Claire just did took a lot out of her. It cost her a ton of nerves and took real courage. She must really love you." Marge smirked. "Looks like she didn't even spare her favorite dress for it. And honestly, I have no idea how I'm going to explain this to Tim. After Claire's slip-up last night, he was so smug about it, walking around with his nose in the air. I'm sure he'll be a lot more humble now," she promised. A few minutes later, the ladies said their goodbyes and left, leaving Claire standing in front of me, watching my reaction with a hint of anxiety. Meanwhile, I was feeling every possible emotion crashing, colliding, and flipping over inside me. I was embarrassed. I was pleased. I felt deceived. I was completely confused. Claire had deliberately orchestrated this entire scene, once again shocking and stunning me in front of her friends. But this time, she had done it to make things right. I was lost in my thoughts, trying to process everything that had happened today and figure out how I should react. "Sam, sweetheart, will you forgive me?" Claire asked softly. I know I made a terrible mistake, but I promise it will never happen again. I will never humiliate you in front of anyone ever again, I swear. Tell me, do you think you could love me again? Claire, today you completely shocked me. What you did? I shook my head. It was a huge risk. I could have been furious that you let all those women see my, well, you know. I don't know. I'm still not sure how I feel about all of this. But you definitely took a major gamble. You're telling me, Sam, did you see the way Busta Gloria and the rest of them stared at your, equipment before you covered up? Damn, I really hope this doesn't come back to bite me later. Claire, I want you to call your mother and tell her we're coming over for dinner this Friday, and I demand that you do it right now while I'm here, so I can hear you tell her exactly how well her little plan worked. Thank you for listening until the end. See you in the next episode of English Epics. Take care of yourself and your loved ones. Goodbye.